Okay. All right. Now it is starting to record. So I wanted to start us off with a morning meditation, and then after that, being able to check in and answer any questions that you might have since last month. So if you would just come into a seated position that feels comfortable for you, making any adjustments that you might need to settle in. And if you feel comfortable enough, you're welcome to close your eyes or keep them open. And as you settle in, getting into this comfortable position, bringing the back up straight with the crown of your head reaching towards the ceiling, I invite you to sit with dignity and just notice what that might feel like for you, what dignity feels like in your body. And maybe bringing some deep breaths into the body as you begin to take inhales, expanding into the belly. And exhaling, feeling yourself land in this moment. Inhaling, expanding, bringing air into the lungs. And exhaling, arriving in this new day. Now breathing at a pace that feels comfortable for you, just allowing the breath to be easy and effortless in the body. Breathing naturally, feeling the gentle rise and fall. I invite you to set an intention for your day. This might be something you would like to create or something you would like to do. Just bringing this to mind, repeating the intention silently to yourself 3 times. Now returning to the breath and connecting into the senses, feeling them alive and awake in the body. Tuning in to what you can hear, what you can feel, awakening every cell, every muscle, and all of the nerve endings in the body. Alive and awake in this new day. Breathing in fresh new energy. And as you exhale, letting go of any tiredness or lethargy from the night before. Just taking a moment to connect inwards and seeing how you feel today. That this might be the only time in your day where you get a moment to be still or to listen. Today is a fresh new day, infinite possibilities. And as you breathe in, allowing the breath to renew and to revitalize. Feeling the whole body breathing, alive and awake in this present moment. Connecting to the life force of the breath, letting go of yesterday. bringing in fresh new energy. Bringing in fresh eyes to this new moment, to this new day. Giving it your full awareness and presence. Knowing you have what you need for the day ahead, that you are capable of meeting the challenges. At any time during the day, you can connect back to the breath and to the stillness that you are experiencing now. In these last few moments, imagining going through your day with a sense of calm, a sense of content. Bringing enthusiasm and vitality to whatever the day ahead brings. And now, bringing some deeper breaths back into the body, and maybe beginning some gentle movements in the hands, running the thumb over the fingertips, maybe even rolling out the wrist. Maybe beginning to blink the eyes slowly open before going out and greeting this new day. Well, thank you for participating in my meditation. I'm curious what your experiences were, what you noticed, just checking in. Whoever would like to start.
I'm noticing that I'm very, very tired. I had a lot of trouble connecting with like being here in the present moment, just because of all the anxiety, I think, from, all the stress going around, like the global stress, as well as, our own little community inside of things. And I just feel it very acutely. But I also, at the same time, like I'm seeking like humor and, positivity as well as preparedness. And so that was really, really good for me to be able to set my intention for the day for positivity and preparedness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it.
I think I also noticed a lot of fatigue in the body, and so even like inviting vitality and like felt a little challenging, but I think like in terms of setting an intention for the day, like I was just like, today I'm just gonna be kind to myself, whatever that looks like. So
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like I can like be hard on myself when I'm tired, but just sort of being like, yeah, I'm tired and I'm just gonna be kind. Whatever that means.
Sure. Yeah, being able to accept where you're at as opposed to setting maybe some sort of unrealistic expectations or feeling some sort of pressure. I feel like I've been having that conversation with a lot of clients about the societal pressure or even the pressure that maybe we learned in our upbringings to constantly be doing something, that society functions on this 24/7 clock. And so now we're being asked to stay home, be still, and it goes against a little bit, I think, of what we expect of ourselves in normal life.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, being gentle on yourself. Well, what kind of questions do you all have about over the past month, the things that you've been working on, the work that you did while we were apart.
I have been struggling with a couple of clients who are very like emotionally shut down to the point where, I mean, some of them just lack having the early memories and just how to work through that with them. One in particular, well, two in particular, every time they start feeling an emotion, it just shuts off completely. And one of them just has just an overall lack of memories. And I mean, how do you work with that?
And so it sounds like whenever you get a little close, they shut down, and
Yeah.
their body just automatically goes to a place of, I don't want to feel that.
Yeah.
I would be curious, how long, like maybe if there's some additional resourcing, that it's okay to go back to resourcing to allow their body to learn that they can tolerate some of these things, or practicing getting into the body and the experience of feeling emotions.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that? Or,
well, yeah, I've definitely had thoughts of that, and I'm struggling with like what to do, because I mean, you know, there's only so many things that we have, and I feel like I'm doing the same things over and over again, and it might be getting boring for them. You know, and I'm someone who I kind of have to rely on scripts. I don't really have a lot of ability to kind of make things up on the fly like Alice does. Like I'm so impressed with that ability, and it's something that I struggle with a lot. So I've been looking at like different books that I could possibly utilize, just to get a little variety in there. But I just haven't purchased any just yet. But it sounds like, from your perspective, like going back to resourcing and just like really getting in touch with those pieces is something that might draw some of that out.
yeah, I think that given the time that I've done EMDR and from my past consultation, learning that it's okay to spend more time in resourcing than we might be spending, that you can go back to resourcing, you can spend a lot of time there, because if they're not able to feel things, they're going to quickly disassociate or go back to their answer. And so I guess I'm curious what that's like for you, because you mentioned, like, it feels like maybe it's boring, or maybe they're going to get tired of it. So what's that like for you?
I mean, for me, I like to do different things and new things, and to have something different to provide to people every week, and a lot of our resourcing pieces are very, very similar. Like specifically with the mindfulness, and there's only so many times you can teach techniques and stuff like that before they're like, okay, I'm done with this.
Sure. What kind of feedback are you getting from your clients?
Basically that, just, the same thing, and just kind of wanting something different.
Yeah. So like you mentioned, like that feeling of stuck, maybe in the time that like I've been working along and just observing it sounds like you'd really like a solution. Like you would like to be able to move forward with this, as opposed to this like hamster wheel.
Yeah, I mean, that would be nice. And at the same time, I'm cool with letting them be where they are. Like, that's where you are. Absolutely. Like, yeah, we need to do this. And just like not really feeling prepared enough to have those scripts, those additional scripts to help people get in touch with their bodies. And it's harder because we're online, we're remote. And so you can't do some of those activities that we have. And so that's been a little tough to adapt those.
Yeah, I'm thinking of like the scarf exercise of letting go. Like that presents a unique challenge being online, that we can't physically be holding that object with them. you know, there's the choices. We're allowing them to listen to what's within their body of, do you like this more or this more? I don't know if you've tried that.
Mhm.
It sounds like maybe this client and probably others that we've all worked with is that they tend to focus more up here, right? They're not even connected
Yeah.
into the body. Everything is happening
Extremely
here.
cognitive.
Yeah.
One in particular, like, you know, when we get off session or whatever, he like sends me this hugely long message about, you know, I was thinking about this, and he's like dissecting it all, and I'm like, yes. And I'm trying to like, I'm trying to be like, hey, like, and what are you noticing as you're trying to pick this apart? I mean, not in that language, of course, but
Yeah.
you know, just kind of helping him to draw his attention to maybe how this has been helpful in the past. And you know, it's like, well, I don't see how it's been helpful. I can't think of any ways, but I know that he's talked about ways in which has been helpful. It's just not connecting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if they're like the problem of not being able to feel emotions, like he has a problem of I can't feel emotions, and how is that helpful? Well, it sounds like, and maybe being curious yourself, like I wonder if that feels like avoidance. Like I wonder if it feels like it's helpful,
Oh,
helping you avoid something. Just being curious about it so that he has
help
the room.
direct him.
I'm sorry.
Just to kind of help direct him in a way that, you know, if he's confused and he can't figure it out, just saying like, hey, I'm wondering if
Yeah.
this feels this way to you, and then just allowing for that feedback.
Yeah. I mean, if we're curious without judgment, and like you said, then it creates that, like, yes, you can correct me. It's okay if I'm wrong, but I'm just curious. Like, I wonder if that feels like it's helpful because you get to avoid feeling something. And then getting into the senses has been really helpful in my experiences of, well, where do you notice that in your body right now? Sit with that for a little bit, you know, because it's extremely common that I don't know is their answer. I don't know is an answer, right? Because it's safe. I don't have to decide, but letting them sit with it for a little bit, notice what's happening in the body. What's that feel like? I've even used a color wheel, and it's like an emotional color wheel that has various colors and different emotions in it, to expand my clients' vocabulary. Like they know happy, they know sad, and they know mad, but they don't realize like there's all these other emotions that the body can experience. And where does that sit in your body? What does it feel like? Giving it some life. And maybe this is something you've already done, right? What is the temperature? What is the shape? What is
Oh,
the...
yeah, I have done that. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
But I love the emotional color wheel. I didn't think about adding that. That's cool.
It was something I didn't necessarily learn it within the EMDR protocol, but a lot of my clients so far that I've worked with, they really struggle with just language. And once I start giving them some vocabulary words, and I let them, typically I would let them hold the color wheel. You look at this, tell me what you're feeling, and then let's try to figure out where that's at for you. So that has been helpful. Maybe it's something that you could find on Google and be able to share like your screen with them so they can see this wheel.
I think I could. I think I could. I'm going to try that this week. Thank you.
You're welcome. You'll have to let me know how it works out.
I will.
I actually have a couple of questions, if that's okay. If we don't have time for both, that's all right. I was wondering, this has never happened to me before, but I had one client where we cleared the touchstone, and that, like, she said that cleared the rest of the memories for her. And I'm like, is that possible, I guess?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when we think about, right, that model of the touchstone is typically back here in the primitive part of the brain, there's channels associated with that. And it is common, if you clear the touchstone, you've desensitized the other channels.
Okay. That's what she says. Like, we went and checked in with all of them. She's like, that's not disturbing. That, like, she sees all the other ones in light of the first one.
Mm-hmm.
The first one informs like the negative cognition and all.
Right. Yeah. It's, I mean, and I think that's wonderful that you went back and checked. Like, let me just check that again. I mean, because that's what that way we know. But there's a lot of truth to that, right? Because if this is the initial negative cognition, more than likely there's a theme That's how I
Mhm.
to explain it to my clients is that, do you notice this theme that's coming up? I'm not good enough, and how this theme is associated with other events that have happened within your life.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there, could that ever be a client's answer? I wonder, to say that like everything is good after that.
That's a really good question. I don't know if I've necessarily had anybody say that to me personally, that, oh, I'm all good, everything's fine. Um, that's a good question. I would need to actually explore that further with Alice or someone else to get some sort of answer for you.
That's, yeah. And she said like it's almost like that's created, she wants to do a different negative cognition now that like kind of came up more, like I don't know. So
I would just encourage you to complete the treatment plan. So still go up, check on present triggers, see if there's any charge with those, and then move into future templates. And so you finish the whole treatment plan, and that's going to help you navigate and see if like her answer is coming up and telling you because she wants to move to something else. Because if that's the case, then when you get to future templates, she's going to have activation. And it's
okay.
the other thing that kind of lets you know is when you're checking in on what are those present triggers and how is it showing up in their life now. And if they're able to say, no, the symptoms I came in with aren't here, like, and they can demonstrate and tell you different ways in their life that they're actually responding and behaving and doing differently, then that's a really great indication that there really is, they did clear it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Do we
And
have time for one more? Oh, sorry.
I want to double back real quick to Kelly. I would just, so one thing that I'm just hearing that you may consider is actually doing the answer extended with these particular clients.
Hmm.
Yeah. Is that here?
It's on the website.
Oh, it's on the website. Okay.
My website. It'll take about 2 sessions to get through it. But by the end of the questionnaire, you and the client will have a clear understanding of the answers. Because what I hear might be happening is that it's like you guys, you and the clients kind of, you know the answer, but don't understand it.
Maybe. Yeah.
And
That's
so
definitely a possibility.
I would love to hear what might happen as you and the client begin to understand and appreciate it and why it's been so important, and the client in particular be able to really identify with why, like really connect with how it saved their life.
That's great. That makes a lot of sense. And I love how you put that, how it's really saved their life.
Yeah, because if they don't understand that, it's hard to have compassion and appreciate it. And yeah, so I would just, before, it's hard to understand the need for resources when we don't quite understand and recognize the importance of what we have in our system first, and that it's necessary, right? That it's been necessary for us.
Yeah. You bringing up the website brings up a question for me. I've been having trouble navigating the website and trying to figure out what I'm supposed to take and do for the continuing ed pieces that we need to do here. And I mean, I don't know if that's something for this forum, but I've kind of struggled with it, with trying to figure it out from like, day one. So I was just like, I can't do this right now. I've been in the middle of the mood for like 6 months. So it was just not on my list, but I know that things are kind of coming up soon, and I need to be able to do those pieces and find what I'm supposed to do. So I don't, anyway, however that works out.
Yeah. Rachel, do you have access to pull up the website, and you know how to navigate it enough to show her? Like if you were to share your screen?
Let me see if I can do that. here. It is not giving me the option to do that right now. I'm not.
It's not letting you share your screen.
Yeah, when I go into share screen, it's pulling up. Let's see if this does it. Let's see. Okay, now it might. Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. Trying to remember, it's been a while since I've done this because there was, when I had to do my advanced training, I know there was a quiz I had to do, and now I have the trainer screen versus like the
Yeah. So if you just, so what you would do, Kelly, like first when you log in, so Rachel, if you just want to log in so that we can kind of see the name. You'll have to click I'm not a robot.
Thank you.
It's a new thing that's been added because they got hacked.
Oh, keeps. There we go. This is interesting because I've completed those.
Oh, yeah.
I don't necessarily know. I don't know where the quiz is that I know I had to take. That there's that
Yeah.
when I was actually in the. Oh, I'm sorry.
You just needs to know the options of which trainings. Is that right, Kelly? Yeah. So if you just go, I think it's going to dashboard. Go there first.
I'm not sure which. I mean, there's all these that there's a lot of videos and worksheets within those. I know that. I'm trying to remember where I took my quiz. I think it was in here.
That's where we need to be. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you see on the side, Kelly, where there's the many layers of EMDR, power EMDR, EMDR with children, EMDR with couples, and let's see, keep going down. That's it. Okay, so go back to go back up. So what you get to choose from, Kelly, because you need 12 hours for advanced training. So power EMDR, the many layers of EMDR are both 12-hour courses. So you can take one of those all the way through, complete it, do your sort of whatever, your quiz and get your certificate. Or the EMDR with children, I think, is either a 3 or a 6 hour. EMDR with couples is like a 3 or 6 hour. And so then you can kind of piece those together to get your 12 hours.
Okay.
You'll need to click on it, and then you have 12 hours that's included in your subscription of what you paid for certification.
Okay. I want to say that those all cost on my side, and I think that they've always cost something. So I don't know. Maybe there's something wrong with my account.
So then what you would need to do is just email admin and just say I've paid for certification, and let them know which one you're choosing to do.
Okay.
And so that they can then direct you to how to do it without having to pay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because that's why I was confused, because I was like, well, all of these cost like a couple $100.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. That's definitely a possibility.
Yeah. So just email the admin.
Okay.
Do that. Have you done yours, Ashlyn?
I haven't finished them, but I've watched some of the videos, probably like 3 hours worth.
Okay. You'll just need to finish that, guys. Like, you need to do it within a year of your signing up for certification to be able to complete it. So.
I will stop sharing. There we go. Okay. All right. Do either one of you have any more questions? We have a little bit, probably another like 10 minutes, you know, if there's some questions or thoughts before getting into the videos.
Sort of think for my second question, the answer extended might actually be a good option. I just feel like, yeah, it almost reminds me in the EMDR book of like discussing like possible risks of getting better. Like it almost seems like, and I know this is part of the answer, not like resistance. Like I feel like she doesn't actually want to like believe something different. And like she says why, like what that would cost her to believe something different. But it's like a lot of like, yeah. So I just feel like we've been like really stuck there.
The benefits that she feels like if she gets better, she's going to lose something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like lose things that I think objectively, like I would say are like not helpful, like they're harming her, and like it feels scary.
Mm-hmm.
Feels more risky to like lose those things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess I wonder if kind of digging even deeper into the answer would be helpful.
Yeah, I actually didn't even know there was an extended answer. That's the first time I've been told about that. So I myself need to go look at it. Is this the same client we have been talking about that you're saying like the benefits of getting better, or is this someone different?
I can't remember if I talked about her. I don't think I have. Maybe I have. I don't remember actually. I don't know how much to explain. Like like her parent, yeah. I don't know how much you want me to say about her, like what would be helpful, because I can't remember what I've said.
Well, I get the reason I'd asked which client it was is just the other client that you were talking about, the future templates might be a place to, I think that it might come up that you'd be able to figure out like the benefits, or even before that, right? Even in the answer, I mean, there's something there. I probably would need more information. Like,
yes. Okay. So you meant like, is she the same client I was talking about earlier today?
yeah, that's what I was curious about.
I'm sorry. No, she's a totally different one. So the first one is like pretty motivated and like wants to, but the second one, like it's almost like she feels like what is like, I don't know. And I say this with like so much compassion, like what is harming her is actually serving her well. Like she isn't, so like she'll lay in bed for like 13 hours a day, like a lot. And her parents are really wealthy, so she like doesn't really have to do anything else. And like just sort of has this belief like nothing I do is going to matter. And she's not suicidal. Like she hasn't said that. She has been in the past, but she's not now. But it's just sort of this belief that like nothing that I do, like why does it matter? Nothing I do will have an impact.
So nothing will have an impact. Nothing will matter. So that's been helpful in some sort of way, right? What is that helping her survive?
Yeah. It kind of seems like from what we've talked about, it almost seems like protecting her from like surviving disappointment. Like she, like what we've talked about, because we've almost like weighed the pros and cons of like getting better. Like what is it going to cost you to get better, or not get better, but like heal, and what And she said like the risk of putting herself out there again and it not going well feels too risky, that she was like, if I'm in pain, at least I know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I don't know what to expect in like getting better.
It sounds like there's some sort of like she can control, like
Mm-hmm.
she can control the situation and control who maybe she's letting close or who she's not allowing in. And if she has that, what she believes to be control, she can prevent herself from being hurt.
Yeah.
And I guess I would wonder, without knowing too much about her, like if she's trying to protect herself from other people,
Yeah.
comes up with that, like, you know, I wonder if that feels very lonely or isolating for her.
No, at least from what she says, she was like, I've been dreaming of quarantine for my whole life. She was like, I don't care if I don't. Because she said another part of her, what I would consider her answer is like, she she deals with binge eating.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was like, so then I can, like, she literally said this yesterday. She was like, I'm anxious about quarantine being over because I like being able to be an ugly, lazy slob by myself. Like no one has to see me do this.
Mm-hmm.
So she like doesn't care about being disconnected. At least what she says. Like I feel like we're all wired for connections. I'm not sure if that's true, but
Yeah. Like, and somehow maybe that's protective as well. The belief or the idea that like, I don't need anybody, or I'd like to keep people away from me.
yeah.
Again, that's another way I feel like potentially what I'm noticing is that that's another way to control this is by saying like, I don't need people. I'm still in control somehow.
And this belief that she's a monster, like when we have gone back to like process some things, like even like the youngest versions of herself, she was like, I can't see myself as like lovable. I just see even those parts as like a monster. Like even like little bitty parts of her. And we've like looked at pictures of what she looked like at that age, like, and she's like, I'm disgusting. Like I'm a monster. It does actually feel really complex. I think that's what I'm feeling.
Yeah. I would guess I would wonder who maybe said that to her, or where did she learn she's a monster?
Yeah.
And then it's really complex.
Yeah. I think not. Like I think implicitly her parents. Like I think it's 100% attachment related.
Mm-hmm.
I just am not sure. And I have to like check myself on not trying to do something, like not trying to make something happen. But it is hard. Like I think I'm just like, I'm not sure how to help. When I kind of feel like, I think I like bump up against her answer like so often.
Yeah. Yeah, that it's difficult to sit with that, maybe, that it's hard to feel like it's complex or feel like, where are we going with this? Or
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yes. The thing is why it makes me wonder maybe a little bit if we need to go back and do more around the answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, figuring out like Alice said it so well, is like, how has that helped that person? How has it saved their life? There's something about that there, that this saved her in some sort of way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think it absolutely has. Yeah.
Are there other thoughts, or Alice, is there anything you'd like to interject before we go into videos?
So I'd just be curious how self-loathing has helped save her life.
Okay.
And I'm real curious. It sounds like there's a lot of the invisible one qualities that I'm hearing. Like she feels really safe when she's hidden.
Yeah.
And so there's a longing for that to happen. And there's a lot of different strategies she's employed to try to actually hide who she actually is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's hard for her to even acknowledge who she really is. Like it's almost like she's even hiding from herself.
Yeah.
And it feels really scary. Like anytime you get close to her, she hides again. And that's kind of what you're experiencing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the stance of that. And so, yeah, you know, Rachel's doing a great job of just really kind of reiterating the importance of just continuing to explore how important that is, right? And just being really gentle and soft. Like you are so good at that, Ashlyn, but just really kind of just being really gentle with that part of her that's just all the different ways that she tries to hide, you know, and stay invisible, and really with her exploring how that's helped her stay safe, and how actually like how absolutely essential it's been probably from the get-go.
Yeah.
From the very beginning. It sounds like even early on in her life, like it's hard for her to even connect with earlier parts of herself.
Yeah. Yeah, because I actually think the negative messages started so early.
Right.
I remember some.
Yeah. So just being really gentle and patient, and anytime you're experiencing that, you know, as soon as you get close to something, there's like another thing that pops up, or another way she digs in and hides, right? Leaning into that. Oh, do you need to hide again, right? Like it's happening right now. How are you feeling that in your body? Right in this moment? Like, I wonder what just happened that felt like that urge to just disappear again happened, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
And you're just going to be there for a while until you and her can really just see it when it's happening and celebrate it.
Yeah. Yes. I think what I'm noticing too is I'm like collaborating. I'm like the EMDR person and working with another therapist who's more like behavioral CBT, helping her with like everyday coping. And I think I feel a lot of pressure, which I normally wouldn't, like to not be patient with, like to make something happen. And I think this is helping me remember, like, we might be camping out and like understanding the answer for like a really long time.
Well, and remember that this sense that you have to make something happen and this other therapist is trying to make something happen is exactly what she's probably lived in her whole life, is people have been trying to get her to do something that she doesn't want to do.
100%. Yes.
And so the longer y'all do that, the more you're going to be exactly where you are.
Yeah. You're exactly right. Okay. Yeah. That's really helpful. Thank you. I'll probably try and video a session with her so we can see that. Thank you.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, we'll, from either one of you, as far as questions, we can move into videos. I'm trying to remember who went first last time. Does anyone remember?
I actually don't remember.
I don't remember either. I couldn't actually find the video from last time. I kept trying to find it.
Kelly went first last time.
Oh, Kelly did? Okay. Ashlyn, would you like to go first?
Sure.
Okay. I'm going to pull up your script on my phone here.
I think I forgot to give permission. Okay, I think I just gave you permission to control it, Rachel.
Oh, okay. Yep, you did. Thank you. Okay, so these are phases 3, 4, and 7. Okay.
And I did put times for everything, but like every probably 2 to 5 minutes, I like put in times. So if we needed to fast forward or something.
Yeah, I see that. Yep. Okay. Perfect. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and get started.
To stop, you can just raise your hand and let me know. Okay. So if you'll hold that in your left hand and that in your right hand. So the memory that we're going to start with is the memory of early elementary and like staying late after school with your mom.
Okay.
Okay. So when you bring up that memory, what image represents the worst part?
Feeling hungry
Mm.
and just feeling like almost frozen in time, you know,
Mm.
like knowing that like the school day's over, like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like feeling like we're not supposed to be here this late. Kind of like, are we gonna go home? You know, like there was ways to entertain us. I mean, she would play, we would watch like Reading Rainbow, Magic School Bus. I mean, all that stuff was cool, but I just remember feeling, you know, I'd work on schoolwork, you know, whatever kind of schoolwork you have nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always felt kind of antsy, like, how much longer?
And when you bring up what words go best with that picture that express your negative belief about yourself now?
Wait,
What words go best with that picture that represent your negative belief about yourself now?
And the negative belief I have about myself now is my voice doesn't matter, and
If that still fits. So if that fits, but if there's a different, that may still fit, my voice doesn't matter, but like is there another negative cognition that fits with that picture?
I'm not valuable.
Okay.
It's hard for me to connect that. Or when I say my voice is maybe something where it's like I don't really matter that much.
Okay.
Because like obviously if I mattered and my needs mattered, we wouldn't have stayed at school that late. You know?
Yes. When you bring up that picture, what would you prefer to believe about yourself instead?
The picture of them.
Yeah, like when you bring up that picture,
What do
would
I
you
prefer to
believe about yourself instead?
The opposite of that, I guess.
Okay. What
So,
would that be if you were to put words to that?
Like I am a little boy who, you know, who needs. That's the thing. Like my mom would. I mean, it's not like she was interacting with us while we were at school that late.
Mm-hmm.
She just was buried in her own lesson plans, and so we would have to entertain ourselves, and then we'd go home. Eventually, she would make dinner. We'd eat dinner late, and then we'd go to bed. But so there wasn't a whole lot of like, "How you doing, buddy?"
Yeah.
Any of that like emotional attention.
Yeah.
So, what was the question?
When you think about that picture, what would you prefer to believe about yourself instead?
That I am valuable, and that my needs do matter, and that I'm worthy of care, and
Yeah. Okay. And when you think of that picture, when you bring up how true do those words, so thinking of the picture, how true do the words, I'm valuable, my needs matter, and I'm worthy of care, feel to you now on a scale of 1 to 7, where 1 feels completely false and 7 feels completely true?
Why did the scale go from 1 to 10 to 1 to 7?
There's 2 different scales.
Can you repeat the scale again?
Yes. When you think of that picture, How true do those words, I'm valuable, my needs matter, and I'm worthy of care, feel to you now on a scale of 1 to 7, where 1 feels completely false and 7 feels completely true?
Probably 6.
And when you bring up that picture in those words, I'm not valuable, I don't matter, what emotion do you feel now?
Whoa, read that again. Say that again.
When you bring up that picture in those words, I'm not valuable, I don't matter, what emotion do you feel now?
I feel sad. Like no kid should have to feel that.
Yeah. Okay. And on a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 is no disturbance or neutral and 10 is the highest disturbance you can imagine, how disturbing does the memory feel to you now?
10 is very disturbing.
Like the most disturbing.
Probably 7.
Okay. And where do you feel it in your body?
My chest.
Okay. So I'll invite you to bring up that picture and those words.
Back then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not valuable, I don't matter. And notice where you're feeling it in your body.
Do I need to like not cross my legs or anything?
You can, however,
Okay.
just do what your body wants to do. And you'll silently notice that, and I'll pause and ask you what you're noticing. Okay.
So the reason I paused it here is something that I noticed. I wanted to see that, like, going through the script. I would be curious, and I know we can't really see it here, but I guess I would be curious about some of the specific instructions prior to starting, like the seating arrangements. I know that he knows his stop sign, so you'd already gone through that with him.
Yeah.
I did feel a little bit like the picture was very broad. Like I'm not quite sure if, what did he say? He's at school. He's kind of like, just like, when are we going home? Like, we're just kind of entertaining ourselves. Like, it's a pretty broad picture that I'm not quite sure what the picture is, I guess. He's a little boy at school and he's hungry. That much I got for sure. So what maybe might be helpful is the preparation piece of maybe getting into specifically before, because for phase 3, you're starting to charge it. You want to be able to charge the memory, go right into the processing and making sure that they're activated and lit up. So I might just encourage some specific instructions prior to getting into that.
Okay.
So that it's very clear to them what they're going to be doing. But otherwise, I mean, there's so much, like, you're just so patient and so gentle with him, and you're waiting for him to come to it on his own, which is really great, utilizing the script. So.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna see how he does here.
What are you noticing?
What am I supposed to say?
Whatever you're noticing.
I'm imagining like sitting in her classroom. She's behind me to my right behind her desk. We've been in school, ended at like 3. We were an after school program till like 5, and then we stayed longer. And I just remember just wondering like how much longer.
Okay. Yeah.
It just felt just kind of invisible.
Okay. Notice that. Okay. Stay with that.
I felt invisible when my parents would yell at each other, because if they actually, if I felt seen or they were had an awareness of us, me, they would do that.
Okay. All right. Notice that. Okay. What are you noticing now?
What am I supposed to be noticing?
Whatever's coming up.
I feel like frozen in time.
Okay.
Like I remember feeling invisible in the classroom and then feeling invisible. My parents yelling, and I'm kind of in this state of like if I'm playing both of those memories at the same time. I feel
I did not mean to pause that. Sorry.
Sorry, it's so hard to hear.
like it's like they're just everything's frozen.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Notice that.
I'm going to go ahead and pause it there. What I just noticed there when he was talking about frozen, I'm wondering if that's his body is trying to do something to potentially get away from it. Although I read further up in the script, and it's like now it's starting to come up, that invisible feeling in the classroom. But I'm also kind of wondering about the frozen piece of that, like what you might have observed in his body, or if he was starting to disconnect potentially from the memory.
Yeah.
I was just curious about that.
Yeah. I do think, and I remember, I think I put like in quotation some questions. I do feel like as he gets farther along, I do think he starts to like go more into like, which I don't know if this is one, in retrospect, I do think I could see that happening in his body. And I think that's something that I could have like drawn attention to and I didn't. But I do notice like it starts to transition to like, it doesn't matter. I've just accepted it. Like there's nothing I can do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's I need to get a pair of glasses. They like he's not sure what to notice, and then there's a point where he starts to feel really anxious and agitated, and well I'll just let the video play to that and then we'll fast forward. But yeah, I was just curious about what his body was doing, because it doesn't look like he's doing very much, but it also looks like he's almost frozen. So okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll start it again.
impatient, antsy,
Okay.
like agitated.
Yeah.
Not angry yet.
Yeah. Okay.
But
yeah, notice that. I imagine you felt that way at the time. Yeah, notice that.
I'm going to take it up to where I'm reading in the script, and it looks like he might have another place where he dips out of it.
Are you noticing that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
not feeling agitated anymore.
Okay.
I had a flash.
It's making me feel very anxious.
Wanting to like
Is he dissociative right here, Ashlyn?
I don't know.
Okay. He's talking slower and he's like, words are having a hard time coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I paused it. I was kind of waiting for, I noticed that you took him back to the original target memory
Yeah.
because I think you knew something, you knew that he wasn't connecting to it anymore. He was trying to separate from it. Like that hypo arousal was starting to happen, that he was like outside of his window of tolerance and you were trying to bring him back. At least that's what I started to notice.
Yeah. And I don't know if that was right. I knew yeah.
I have it, at least when I did my training with Tyler, he did talk with us about going back to the original target memory, that you can go back to that to in order to recharge the memory to get them back into it. But I'm also kind of wondering about this dissociative quality and his ability to be able to stay with it or feel it.
Right.
Alice, was there anything else you wanted to add before I move the video forward?
I'll wait to the end. I've got several things I've written down, but I'll wait till the end.
Okay. I'm going to take it up to, oh, okay. We'll go ahead and play this part.
Doing okay?
I don't know what to do. What am I supposed to do?
When you go back to the original memory, what are you noticing now?
That I remember a minute ago feeling agitated and anxious and like wanting to do something, but then it's almost as like I came to the crest of the hill to do something, but I just rolled back down the mountain.
Okay.
So in this occurrence, I didn't go yell at my parents to stop or
Okay.
tell my mom to, can we go home now, or
Okay.
go pick on my brother. It was just, I just retreated back into myself.
Okay. So when you go back to the original memory of being in the classroom, what you're noticing now is retreating into yourself. Okay. Yeah, notice that. Okay.
I feel like that word is key right there, that retreating, like he's retreating from this.
What are you noticing?
I don't care.
Okay.
It's kind of why I'm at this, I guess, place of acceptance of like, I guess from not leaving anytime soon.
Okay. Notice that. What are you noticing now?
Almost feel apathetic.
Okay.
Don't care.
Yeah.
Just, you know, no use in trying to
Okay.
do anything but.
Would you be willing to try and experiment with me?
Sure.
If you could imagine someone, it could either be you, like you as an adult, or like anyone else that feels fitting, to imagine going back and hearing what that little boy had to say. Who could you imagine doing that?
Like what person, who would that be?
So it could either be you, like you as an adult going back and just, hey, like caring about what that little boy needed, or it could be someone else in your life that represents, like who could do that for him.
Who could do what for me?
Like imagine that person like caring about what that little boy needed. So you could either imagine you doing that, your adult self doing that for your little boy, or maybe another adult or person who could, you could imagine caring about what your little boy needed. And you notice what's coming up. Notice that. What are you noticing?
I'm noticing if that person is me now.
Mhm.
The only thing I could say to him was like, I'm sorry. That's all I can say. Whereas I'm imagining like Ashley and Trinity,
Mm.
like someone like that. I think being able to like put the pen down at her desk and say like, how you doing? You hungry? Like, I'm so sorry we're staying so late. Um, uh, just noticing.
Just notice that. Notice what that would feel like to receive that.
I think he would feel really seen and not, you know.
Are the pulsers running right now, or are they not running? I just couldn't tell.
I don't think so. I think when he started crying, I turned them on.
Turned them on when he was, yeah. I did notice that you put that in the script that he started to have that emotional reaction to it, and then you turn the pulsers back on. Like he came back up into it and started to feel the experience of this memory that was coming up. I mean, you're
Yeah.
staying there right with him. I feel like you are so connected in with him, and that you're really concerned for him and his well-being, like in a really caring and compassionate therapeutic way. Um, and it looks like, you know, he's starting to have this experience. He's feeling the experience. He's expressing tears. You're allowing that to happen, allowing it to take place, just being patient with this process for him. I'm going to go forward just a tiny bit, and then we'll go ahead and save the last 5 minutes for some feedback.
Okay.
Actually, where's it at?
Helpless, or he probably would have felt more courage to share his feelings because he knew that because she noticed him that the noticing provided safety.
How does invite you to just notice that?
All right. I'll go ahead and stop it there so we have a little bit of time for some feedback before we switch videos. I thought the way that you asked that cognitive interweave was really gentle. There was something potentially maybe within your gut that said, like, I need to try to do a little bit of something here to reconnect with him or connect him to charge, because that's when he came back up and started to have that emotional reaction to it. It's a little, just a little hard to tell from the video because my gut keeps saying like he's just so frozen in this time, as if
Yeah.
stuck there. And so it feels like you're having to do things to bring him back in a really gentle way, though. Like either it's going back to the target or using the cognitive interweave to try to get him back within his window of tolerance. I would wonder potentially in that preparation part of it, that there's a lot of time that he's trying to describe what he's experiencing. So I guess I would wonder if that's a place where maybe he's dipping out of, that he's maybe not as charged early on prior to when he started having the emotional expression.
Okay.
But you really stayed with him, like just continually being patient, continually being there right with him. So
I won't do EMDR my husband ever again. I think that was part of it too.
Yeah. I mean, I've never performed EMDR on a loved one. I imagine that does present like a really unique challenge, just being able to sit with their pain and not want to step in and rescue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a couple of things I'd like to add if I can before we switch.
Yes.
So, you know, Ashlyn, I just continue to love the ways that you are gentle with whoever you're working with, and I really love what Rachel was offering there, just of really recognizing that you had this instinct that a negative, or that a cognitive interweave would be needed, you know, as you go throughout. So I want to just talk about a couple of procedural things real quick. First, I want to back up to the very beginning. And when he gave like 4 positive cognitions, when you asked what would you rather believe about that, we actually just want to grab one of those.
Okay.
I would grab the one that's the most opposite of the negative cognition to reflect back. And so that's one thing.
Would I just pick that, or would I ask him to pick one?
You could do either, really.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, but just really offering back one. So you may say something like, there's several there. I'm wondering if this feels like what you'd rather believe, and just kind of offering back one of them that feels like the opposite.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to highlight, so I'm going to highlight kind of an overall observation, and then I'm going to zero in on one more thing. So an overall observation is his answer was actually present from the very beginning. You know, it sounded like in phase 3 that he was real cognitive, and he kept asking questions like, can you say that again? Can you repeat that again? Or what do you mean by that? You know?
Yeah.
And whenever someone's answer is present, it actually represents activation.
Okay.
Right? It means like they're feeling something, so their answer's here to stay away from it. And so what I'm going to invite you to do is actually, you know, sometime over the next couple of weeks is go back and rewatch this video and watch the progression of his answer.
Okay.
It starts with kind of this checking out, needing to ask you to repeat things from the beginning, and watch how it continually gets bigger and bigger, where he just disappears more and more.
Okay.
And it's harder to be in the present moment. And so I see a lot of what is happening is there's more 2 feet in the past that's taking place. And so that's what Rachel was referring to, that frozen experience that he's having. And it's hard to get movement because there's a lot of focus in the past. Does that make sense? And so go back and watch. It's actually pretty fascinating to watch the progression of that answer. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger to by the very end, like the last question on the script, you say, what are you noticing? And he says, I don't know.
Yeah.
And so it just continues to grow. I think it'd be interesting for you to go back and watch that, which is with that observation, so that you can actually see what that looks like.
Okay.
The other piece that I just want to offer, so your instincts to offer a cognitive interweave, like Rachel said, are dead on. Like there does need to be some intervention here. So what I'd want to caution you though on is he's stuck, he's got 2 feet in the past, and the interweave is just inviting him to be in the past more.
Okay. Yeah.
And what we need is, remember, EMDR is always about present moment experience. We're remembering the past and we're assessing where are they stuck in the past. And then we're offering a present moment experience that allows them to clear out of that, to recognize that they're in a different place now.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and there was a couple times too, like there was a place back around the 10-minute mark of the script where I think you said, and what was happening then, or what do you notice about then? And it was, again, it was keeping that in the past. So that's why the language of what are you noticing now?
Yes.
Oh, I think you said, what did you notice that time?
Okay.
With referencing that time of the tappers were on, but we don't actually care what is happening while the tappers are on. I only care about when I say, what are you noticing now? I'm only curious about what they're noticing right now when I ask, what's the present moment awareness?
Okay.
That's what I'm tracking.
Yes.
So that every time I check in, I'm checking to see, is the present moment of awareness shifting and changing every time I check in?
Okay. Yes.
Does that make sense?
It does.
And then the interweave that you would consider doing would be more about, so he's saying, so, I hear what you're trying to do there is offer a resource interweave to kind of bring in that comfort piece for him. But again, we can't go back and change the past.
Sure.
What we can do is invite a resource interweave into the present moment experience.
Okay.
What's it like to feel what it felt like then, and know that you have comfort now, right?
Okay.
So we're inviting present moment experience with a past memory experience.
Okay.
So that's a real important distinction. And you're going to hear all kinds of different things out there with interweaves. And some interweaves definitely, and I've done an interweave very similar where you're bringing in a resource to a memory. But remember, it's not about bringing comfort at that time. It's really about present moment experience and what do they need in the present moment to be able to work with that memory, right?
Okay. Yes.
And so, so when you're bringing that in, just remember it's about present moment experience and inviting them into the present. And part of that inviting them in the present is what calms their system down, because they're not in it anymore, right? A reminder that you made it through, right?
Okay.
And so it could even just be a gentle question about, what about now? Do you have people in your life that see you and attune to you now?
Okay.
Just notice that, right? So you're holding the present moment, present truth with a past truth. And that way you're not trying to correct a past thing.
Yeah.
You're just holding what's already been corrected.
Okay.
So if we put it in EMDR language, I'm holding an adaptive network resource. I'm tapping into that and holding that as they're activated in a maladaptive resource or maladaptive network.
Okay.
So they can then work together to connect, right? Because maladaptive networks aren't connected to adaptive networks. And that's what the reprocessing does, is it allows that connection to happen. And sometimes we have to facilitate that connection if their movement's not happening.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that feels helpful.
Hey. All right. I need to switch over and let's see. Oops, that was not it. Okay.
You want me to see if I can stop share on my end?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay.
There.
All right. So Kelly, if you would upload your video.
Sorry, I was on mute. Is it working?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, great. Oh, hold on. I have YouTube muted. A sec. Okay. And how do I give control? Oh, there we go. I see that. Okay, there we go.
Thank you.
Good to have you both here. Thank you so much for having your wife here so that she can help us out with doing this remotely. So we've already gone over all the verbiage and flow and what to expect. So do you have any questions before we get started?
No, ma'am.
Okay, just remember along the way, if you ever want to stop, just hold up your hand and say stop. Okay, and we'll stop right away. All right, so we have this first memory of when you were 2. And when you bring up that memory, what image represents the worst part of it now?
I mean, I picture me kind of from third person.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like I'm watching someone do this to a baby. And that is extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah. What words go best with that picture that express your negative belief about yourself now?
Helpless.
When you bring up that picture, what would you prefer to believe about yourself instead?
That I have some control over my life in some way.
So when you think of that picture, how true do the words, "I have control over my life," feel to you now on a scale of 1 to 7, where 1 feels completely false and 7 feels completely true?
2.
When you bring up that picture and those words, "I'm helpless," what emotion do you feel now?
Obviously sadness. Discouragement.
And on a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 is no disturbance or neutral, and 10 is the highest you can imagine, how disturbing does this memory feel to you now?
Like an 8.
Where do you feel it in your body?
Right now, like my face is really warm, but the pit of my stomach is kind of not happy.
Okay. So I'd like you to bring up that picture, those negative words, "I am helpless," and notice where you're feeling it in your body, and go ahead and start tapping. What are you noticing now?
Just a little more peace for just a second.
Go with Go with that and start tapping again. Yeah.
I just wanted to pause real quick. I really appreciate your creativity in doing this remotely with this client. I think you've really created a space of safety and comfort for them to try to process something that's really difficult. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Follow-
We had a long time of trying to figure out how we were going to do this best.
Yeah, I think, just the safety in this, in utilizing, someone that feels safe in order to be able to do the tapping. That's a really creative, something I hadn't thought about before. So I appreciate you being able to do this in a video, and following the script. I'm going to go ahead and start it back up again.
What are you noticing now?
I'm kind of jumping through other memories and can't stay focused.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
Um, I mean, it kind of went through all the other times that I was like held down or like physically held down, unable to fight for myself.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
It kind of feels a little bit like catastrophizing, but just like wondering why the hell no one got me out of the situation. And at like 1 second, I pictured myself punching my stepmom, like I guess actually taking control of the situation.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
I don't know, it feels like it's reframing a little bit. Like I was reminded of like how I did stand up for myself when I ran away, and that got me out of the situation. So it's kind of reminding me of the strength that I have somewhere in me still.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
This shit sucks. I don't know, it's just like cycling through memories of feeling helpless and then memories of being the strong one, making better choices, not being like my family, but then it goes back to, I don't know, just like the cynical part of me that gets frustrated that I even have to deal with this because it wasn't my fault, you know?
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
That, I don't know, for some reason I just keep repeating in my head, it really wasn't my fault. Like I'm talking myself into it. And what happened to my sister isn't my fault. And just reminding myself or talking to myself like I would someone else.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
I just kind of went blank for a second.
Go with that.
That was nice.
What are you noticing now?
Same thing, I just kind of went blank.
When we go back to the original memory, what's the worst part of it now?
just that someone can do that to someone, period. It doesn't feel as restricting, I guess.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
Well, I could actually take a deep breath. That was nice. I don't really know. It's just like, it's kind of just a picture now.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
I am a weird human. Sorry, she's giggling. But I started noticing, like, I'm always in the third person when I think about the abuse that I went through for some reason. Well, just about always. But a picture popped into my mind where, again, in the bathroom, like, my stepmom had me on the ground, and because she had strangled me and poked my eyes and stuff. But it turned into like a picture that just like folded and went away. And then another scene did the same thing.
Good. Go with them. What are you noticing now?
It's like a movie reel in here. You know those Facebook memes where it has like certain things coming at someone and they're dancing, like moving it away? I'm kind of doing that with pictures in my mind, which is super.
Yeah, go with. What are you noticing now?
I'm kind of like traveling through different things that affected me, or that I at least maybe think affected me the most. But in my head, as soon as I say stop, it turns into a picture and goes away.
Go with that.
It's kind of nice.
I'm going to stop there just for a second. Some things I'm seeing that are really great, like being very patient and allowing for your client to have those responses, allowing, trusting that her system is doing the work. I'm curious about this movie, or controlling it in a sense, where she's like, oh, I can stop it. And I'm wondering about, like, if there's some sort of safety there, if that potentially is like her answer coming up to, I have to keep this safe distance from it in order to be able to observe it. Like, I can't get too close to it. So I'm just curious about that, if you had any feelings about that as you were going through this process with your client.
Yeah, I saw it more along the lines of, I mean, trying to control it, yet I had this feeling that it would resolve into something later, and it did.
Yeah.
That picture of her, you know, or that video or whatever playing. And to be fair, I know this person very well, so I cheated. So if she had, I think, been a client, I think I would have been a little more concerned, or just more noticeable about it. But I had this feeling that her system was working towards this like integration, you know, with mom or stepmom pouring the water over her head, you know, like you do a normal little 2-year-old who's taking a bath.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and that goes back to this, what I'm observing is how much you trust this person. Like that there's a lot that you have a working relationship with this person and you can tell, and this person feels safe with you. Go through about 2 more minutes and then we'll do a little bit more for feedback.
I was actually wondering, could we kind of skip to the part where she goes out of the window of tolerance
Are you
and
talking
asks to stop?
when, let's see.
Here, hold on, let me,
I see where you're talking about.
I can't figure out how to minimize this. But yeah, I felt like there was something that I could have done there, and I'm just kind of curious as to your guys' thoughts. What are you noticing now?
Just back to the first memory. I don't know. Just a second.
You just want to go with it? Okay.
I'm trying to think if that's the right time, because there is a point where you do have a note like coming up that she holds the hands up to stop.
Yeah, it's coming up really soon. This is when I started noticing her kind of drifting, and I, like, internally, and you probably can't see it on my face, but internally I'm like, I should do something, I don't know what to do.
Okay, stop for a second.
Yeah, sorry, that's where it is. Is there a way that we can support you right now?
I don't know if I need to sit here or talk it out, or the deep pressure helps.
Good. Right here with you.
Was it like a mix of feeling what it could have been like if they could have just loved me? And a mix of like a sad, why couldn't they? Like, I know it's not my fault, but why? And why did it have to start so young and go on for so long?
What I'm noticing is that I guess what I'm wondering is if this is where potentially your client started to feel maybe not so in control, that it wasn't so distant anymore, that now she's in it and she's feeling it and experiencing it. And the stop sign is a way to, my system is overwhelmed and I can't handle much more of this.
Yeah, she definitely had both feet in the past. I mean, even with her eyes open. And I don't know if you noticed, but I was stopping earlier than I would with a normal client because I was a little nervous about dissociation and going 2 feet in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, now that I think about it, I don't know if I changed that or like if I let her go for longer and then she dipped into it. So that's something I want to go back and look at.
Yeah, she wanted to just needed a little time to reflect.
Yeah.
And so you gave her that space. So, and it might have been later on that you guys went back into processing.
Yeah, we actually stopped for the day, and then we did it another week later. We did another session, and actually everything had all processed out. And so, you know, or so it seems, but I don't know. I have a little curiosity there, I think, as to what's going to come up.
Right.
But as far as like her life at this point, like she's like, it snapped me out of my depression. Like all these changes are popping up. Like she's looking forward to starting her new semester, you know, and she wanted to go somewhere, you know. And so there are positive changes for sure. I just, like, I started noticing the dip, and I was like, I wish that I had some tool to say, something to say to help her stay here too. And I just was at a loss. I'm not great with cognitive interweave.
I think you knowing your client so well has definitely been helpful, and trusting her system to do what it needed to do. It sounds like it did eventually pay off, because she is starting to notice some positive changes.
Yeah.
And it looks like having her partner there with her present to give maybe that pressure, maybe that was a way that she was able to ground and bring herself back into the present. Is to
Yeah.
feel the sensation.
Well, and now that I think about it, I'm also thinking she didn't have the ability to say stop then. So maybe that's what she had to do in order to kind of change that in her mind, is to say stop and have it honored.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I definitely want to give, we're very close on time. I wasn't super good about budgeting it, but I know Alice probably has some feedback too that she wants to be able to share.
Yeah, and I have a 10 o'clock, so I've got to get off. But yeah, so I mean, you did a great job just following the script. The only thing that I would say about just your question here is, I mean, she used her stop sign, she was able to ground, and then you went back in. So I don't think anything else was necessarily needed. You could have just offered and highlighted what was it like to be able to say stop, and we listened. You know, you can highlight anything like that. I'd love to, so I'm going to invite you guys, both of you, I think this would be good for both of you, is to go to the PTI website and watch 2 or 3 demonstration videos and watch how cognitive interweaves are used. You can choose which one you do.
Is there a way that you can include the links? Because honestly, I can't navigate the site to save my life. I tried to look for the answer extended and I couldn't find it either. It was just.
All of that's in the basic training portal.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so the cognitive interweaves are there too?
Well, the videos, the demonstration videos.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I've got a client, so I've got to hop off. But we'll get some feedback to you guys in the feedback forms that'll come out, and we'll get that to you guys in the next week or so. And if you have questions, you're welcome to email either one of us, okay?
Thank you so much, guys, for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Kelly, if you could give me control of the screen, that way I can stop the recording.
I don't know how.